I was so I was telling you about those two young guys I was hanging out with the other day, and they were really despondent. And a lot of guys are with good reason, I suppose, but sort of the state of things. And a lot of it was coming down to sort of dating and sexual marketplace and that sort of thing, and how they felt that women perceived them. And I think I said to you, it said these guys see themselves like men have just devalued themselves to just being ornaments. Back in the day, we used to like talk about men being disposable utilities, people taking us for granted and exploiting us, exploiting our labor. Now it's come to the point where they deem themselves not attractive enough in the eyes of women, and they've just become ornaments. They're ornamentation. That's all they offer. It's.
I found it interesting when you said that you were talking to these guys, and they were really despondent and sad, and they were saying like, these girls don't find us attractive, and they were telling you, oh, you don't know what it's like, SPETSNAZ. And it's like you're correct. It's what a shame these men's self-values devolved to the point of just being ornaments for women. I'm not pretty enough.
There was I kept thinking about that poem from T.S. Eliot. The hollow men. We are the hollow men. Shape without form, shade without color, gesture without motion. We are hollow. That's all that was running through my mind. I brought these guys to a bar, and they were like really despondent. All the rest of it, bugger this. And I went over and I started talking to these women in the corner, and I called the guys over, and they were all hung up. Like they were getting on well with these women. These women were their age, so they weren't remotely interested in me, but they got on well with these guys because of the age, and they were talking about social media, and they started to really hit it off. And they were really hung up on what did I say? What did I do to open up that situation, to get these women to talk to me in order to facilitate this? I said, well, you've been watching me all day long. I said, I've been talking to people on the street. I talked to the old guy. I talked to this guy. I talked to that guy. And when they're asking me, I'm talking to this other guy about drip lining on a section of land. I'm building a utility on that. All the rest of it, about sewerage and resource consent. I said, I talk to people all the time. It's just I'm talking to people. Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like, what's the best pickup line? Hello.
Hello.
How you going?
How you going? Yeah.
What's your name? It's like they're human beings. And it's really, we've mentioned this a lot of times where because the male space in the world is just constricting and it's disappearing, like, men don't actually talk to each other. They're censored left, right, and center. That the only frame of reference is through the female and her acceptance, validation, and whether you can pass through her language. And it used to be like men could gather and then you'd, whether it's visit women or interact, but your harbour was the male space, who you were. But now there's no space. Men are kind of blind and free-floating through space like a dream, like you're just rotating through zero gravity. And you're just trying to hold on to a woman to find any semblance of humanity. And if a guy doesn't have the space with other men, he's not talking to men, and basically all the spaces of our grandfathers, how they got together and had a sense of themselves is gone. It doesn't surprise me what you mentioned. But yeah, just being reduced to ornaments. Basically, how do I be a human being? I will mimic women because I haven't got a clue how to be a man. But these human beings with long hair and high heels, they seem to know what they're doing from my perspective. I'll just be what they want me to be and I'll act and pantomime things around, but it's still not working. It's a pretty sad state of affairs.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of men today, they have no identity. Their identity comes through the eyes of a woman. And, that's a key issue. But the other big key issue is that if you think that the solution is going to come externally from outside, then you're far less likely to actually solve your problem yourself, whatever that problem is. You think it's completely reliant on everything external. You can't attain that. So you're going to project blame onto everything else and you're going to give up and you're going to become hopeless. No, it comes from inside you. I know it sounds like a broad generalization, but the only person who can help you is you. You have to take micro steps.
Yeah, I think it's been repeated so often. Let's not forget, because it's important. That's why people have been repeating these glib phrases of, love yourself, accept yourself, that they become sort of cliche, but you don't want to throw them in the trash because they've become corny lines.
Yeah.
They're essential. I mean, I look around, women are lost, right? But before them, men are invisible. They're not just lost, they're barely there.
Yeah.
At least as an entity, as an archetype, women still kind of exist in the world, even though they've been reduced to sort of clownish consumer exhibitionists. But men are like, masculinity is like, just, I don't know. I don't see much of it anyway.
There was, Norman Mailer, he said something about that. He said, so because there's so little masculinity left in the world, or left in particular in American life, he said that there was an inbuilt tendency for society just to destroy masculinity in American men. He said, whatever last vestiges there were, and we're seeing this, all those little pockets, all those spaces, every kind of virtue that can attribute to masculinity, it's just being destroyed, it's being ripped apart.
Well, you destroy. I mean, men are very good at building structures, both practically in the world, but also interrelationally. Like, how are we going to organize ourselves? Between ourselves as people. What are the rules? What's good manners and so forth, for the purpose of actually getting along and being able to do things in the real world. But if you get rid of the structure and you kind of say, well, firstly, you convince women that they don't need men, which, fine, if an individual woman wants that, but without them having responsibility for tomorrow, and really they don't, because they're always taken care of by somebody, whether it's an individual man or by the state. They don't have to really think about tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and tomorrow's here now. And it's just interesting seeing them during this current time where people are so isolated. It's interesting to sort of see people feel a certain thing now that's come to fruition because of how we've been acting, yet not wanting to admit how they might need to change.
Yeah. It's come to a kind of a standstill with a lot of people, and they're left sort of, ambling for some sort of, I guess, security in terms of their immediate environment. But, it's caused.
I remember, I think you said when you mentioned these guys you talked to that they were just baffled because you could talk to another human being who happened to be female.
Yeah.
And it was so scary for them. They kept asking you as though it was a magic trick, as though you were juggling a chainsaw and, a dog and, a bag of rice at the same time, and going, wow, man, how do you do that? It's like, the way I'm talking to you, you do that.
And I said to them, I've been doing it all day with people. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you didn't take account, you didn't notice any of that. But, I was trying to get out of that conversation because it started, and then I wanted to leave because it was boring me to tears. But they're just there nodding to whatever the woman said, and the girls are on their phones, and they're talking about social media and all the rest of it. And I thought I'll try and help the conversation, but every time I cracked a joke, they'd look at me just like, what's he talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of. I think they like. It's not just figuratively now. I think it's almost literally that they see them they see women as celebrities. Yeah. Not because of how much they've elevated them, but because of how little they think of themselves today. So it's not like we have elevated women, right? But we've also at the same time been denigrating men. So the gap, the vertical gap between men and women now. I mean, when you did the mating dance, there was always that kind of respect and what worked in nature. And, there were certain points of time during the mating dance that, you propped a woman up and there was respect in one way, and then there's other ways that she gave you respect. But now there's this massive gap where she's become this godlike celebrity, not because you've elevated her so much, which society has, but because you've lowered yourself so much.
Yeah.
And they're asking, you know, how do you talk to a woman? And I think you said, like, thanks to SPETSNAZ for the conversation. Make sure you follow him on BitChute and Odyssey, links below. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, share my videos around, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And if you feel like supporting the channel, links below too. I'll catch you soon, guys. Bye.